Hey, no matter where you go, whatever you're up to, if you're feeling lonely and blue, I'm here for you and I've got stories too. If you're feeling lost and alone, I hope with my voice you'll feel at home. This is Sarah's Bedtime Stories, the Art of 20s. Figuring out what's next. OMG, I missed this. I hope you missed me too, and my stories. OMG again, I'm gonna do it again. This time, let's do it better. So, hey, it's been a while. This is Sarah and this is Sarah's Bedtime Stories Season 3. It's been months since I last wrote an episode for my podcast. Just to give you a recap, the last episode of Sarah's Bedtime Stories, The Art of 20s Season 2 was about what's next for me and my podcast. To be honest, it has been a question for me. Really. What's next, Sarah? So, kaya hindi ako naglabas ng podcast for the past few months kasi iniisip ko rin ang sagot sa tanong na yan. Have you ever felt that after you did something, after you achieved something, reached a goal, yung masaya ka na sa nagawa mo, pero parang may kasunod na tanong na, and then, what's next? O tapos, yun na yun? It feels like it doesn't end there. Para bang there should be a reason for you to continue and it's up to you to decide what's next for you. And yun yung pagkakataon na parang mas lalong nagiging challenging para sa'yo kasi nandun ka sa point na iniisip mo kung ano yung susunod tapos tinitignan mo if kakayanin mo ba, if gusto mo ba. Kaya parang ang hirap din niyang sagutin. I remember kapag graduation, laging line sa speech ng mga guest speakers o kaya ng mga awardees na nagsasalita is yung line na graduation is not the end but the beginning of a new chapter in our young and promising life. Diba? Kabisado ko pa yun. Dati akala ko ulit-ulit siya pero sa bagay kaya siguro siya inulit-ulit kasi it's the truth na after mo nga naman palang mag-graduate kahit na elementary yan, kailangan mo ring alamin kung saan ka mag-high school. After mo rin mag-high school, kailangan mong alamin naman kung mag-aaral ka ba ng college and kung anong program ang gusto mong kunin. Same after mo ng college, you have to think if magbo-board exam ka ba or mag-work ka na agad or kung magtatrabaho ka, alin ang gusto mo, dito ba sa Pampanga, sa Manila ba or sa ibang bansa. Ang dami-daming mga tanong and ang dami-dami ring mga options. And also kapag nakahanap ka na rin ng trabaho, hindi naman din guaranteed na your first job is your lifelong career. Kailangan mo ring makahanap ng makakapagpasaya at makakapagbigay ng mga needs and wants mo in life at the same time. Diba? So parang yung tanong na what's next for me sa podcast na to, hindi lang pala siya sa podcast ko. I have encountered this question even before, especially during my early 20s. It feels like you are a writer na laging nagsusulat ng next episode ng storya ng buhay mo. And like what I've said, what makes it hard is that as you go along, it feels like it gets challenging as well. Parang habang tumatanda ka, nagle-level up yung difficulty ng pagdedesisyon kung ano ang susunod. And alam nyo ba, after I produced my SBTS or Sarah's Bedtime Stories, Oha, may shortcut na tayo guys. Hashtag level up. Anyway, so after kong nakapag-produce ng 28 episodes, at some point, I really felt like I was okay with it. Like, pwede na siguro to? Pwede na muna to. Honestly, yun talaga yung mga naisip ko, kaya nga parang nag-relax ako for how many weeks. Pero in my heart or at the back of my mind, I feel like I want to do more, to have something more for my stories. I want my stories to be heard by not just hundreds, but thousands or millions of people. Wow! Hashtag cutie, hashtag manifesting. Universe, please, bigay mo na to. Kung hindi mo ako bibigyan ng 60 million, charis, bigay mo na to. Charot lang yan. Anyway, kahit ganito yung mga sinasabi ko, alam ko sa sarili ko na hindi yun madali. Madaling sabihin yung pangarap mo, pero yung mga gagawin mo to achieve that, it wouldn't be as easy as 1, 2, 3 or ABC. Yes, you want something to reach that, but you also need to take those baby steps. Steps na minsan hindi mo paalam or steps na minsan ang hirap ding lagpasan. But syempre, alam nyo naman ako, kung nakikinig kayo ng mga podcast episodes ko, you know that I don't wanna be, ayoko nisi-stress. So, no pressure for me. For how many months I took a pause. Nagpahinga, ng slight, nag-isip, and alam nyo ba na minsan nakaka-addict ding magpahinga. Kapag nasanay ka dun sa comfort na chill ka lang, parang gusto mo ganun na lang. So, hindi ako nagsulat, hindi ako naghintay ng madaling araw para tumigil ang aso sa pagtahol o kaya yung mga kuliglig sa palayan. Kumbaga, marami akong libreng oras para gumawa ng mga ibang bagay. Komportable siya kung iisipin. Pero, ngayon na nire-record ko tong podcast na to, na-realize ko na it's part of my podcast journey to take those breaks in between. Kasi when I took those breaks, I had the chance to connect with other people. I met different people from my past and from my future. Charis. Kumbaga, nagkaroon ako ng mga bagong experiences. Na magiging inspirasyon ko sa pagsulat ng mga bagong kwento. Kaya ayun, ilang buwan din ang inabot ko bago ako magsimula ulit. Pero alam niyo ba na habang nagpapahinga ako, lalo kong naramdaman sa sarili ko yung pagkagusto ko sa ginagawa ko na ito. Alam mo yung hahanapin mo rin pala siya, mamimiss mo siya at babalikan mo rin siya. Pakiramdam ko kung gusto mo talaga yung ginagawa mo and if you have put something in it already, may isip mo na ito yung gusto ko eh. Nahanap ko na yung gusto kong gawin. Nag-invest na ako ng oras, ng pera, ng eyebags para dito. Parang ayoko naman na tumigil. Sabi nga nila, mga Gen Z ngayon, di ba? Malayo pa, pero malayo na. And other than that, pangarap ko kasi to eh. Ilang beses ko tong inisip before, tapos ngayon na nandito na ako, nakapag-umpisa na ba ako, titigil ba ako? Kaso, sabi ko nga, kasabay din yan, meron din tayong mga negative thoughts as always. Pero para sa akin, do it anyway. As they say, you will not figure out everything right away. Nobody's perfect and no matter how you wanted it to be perfect, hindi naman siya magiging perfect the first try. Laging merong room for improvements, ganyan. So, when I stopped producing podcast episodes, I took time to also listen to other people's suggestion. I needed help. So, when they told me about a lot of ideas, I listened to them, and what happened was I have Sarah's Bedtime Stories Facebook page, Instagram account, TikTok account. I posted different videos, reels every day. I even created the website. So you can check it out at sarahsbedtimestories.com, So, if you also have suggestions kung paano ko siya papagandahin or paano siya makakatulong sa podcast, I would definitely welcome all your comments and feedbacks. Sa Facebook naman, just search Sarah's Bedtime Stories and makikita niyo yung page. Please do like, follow, and share na rin. And sa Instagram and TikTok, it's @_Sarah's Bedtime Stories. So, nung ginagawa ko tong mga to, I really needed help with a lot of people, and thank you to everyone for helping me come up with these pages. And I must say na ang hirap. Matrabaho siya totally. Ulit-ulit mo siyang ginagawa, trial and error, and it requires consistency na kahit hindi ka nakakakita ng results, kailangan tuloy mo pa rin siyang gawin. So, laging nandun yung thoughts ko din na what if hindi mag-work? What if nagsasayang lang ako ng oras dito sa mga pinupost ko pero wala rin itong kapupuntahan? And ang hirap mag-grow ng isang Facebook page, ng account. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung papatok. Nakakaubos siya ng brain cells actually. But one thing that I've realized is that at least you are doing something for it or you're taking the first step. And it's what you will learn along the way eh. It's what makes you love your craft even more. Ganun yung nararamdaman ko eh, na habang pinaglalaanan ko ng oras yung podcast ko, lalo ko siyang pinapahalagahan. And figuring out what's next for me and my podcast, what I really learned is that you have to believe in yourself. Like 100%, kasi bago sila maniwala sa'yo, mauuna kang maniwala sa sarili mo eh. Kasi dito ka makakakuha ng inspiration, ng motivation. One thing that I learned while I was figuring out what's next for Sarah's Bedtime Stories, you have to believe in yourself. Like yung totoong naniniwala ka na gusto mo tong gawin, na kaya mo tong gawin. Kasi I feel like bago sila maniwala sa'yo, mauuna ka muna. And kapag nakikita nila sa'yo na passionate ka sa ginagawa mo, na binubuhos mo lahat ng kaya mo, parang madali silang maniwala sa gusto mo or sa magiging message mo. Kasi nakikita nila na ikaw mismo naniniwala dun eh. And dun sa mga panahon na marami kang naiisip na negative or na panghihinaan ka ng loob, when you believe in yourself, dun ka makakakuha ng inspirasyon at ng dagdag na motivation. That's why you don't have to doubt yourself when you have something in mind that you want to achieve. Naniniwala rin ako na kapag nandyan yan sa isip mo, sa puso mo, parang I feel like binigay yan sa'yo ni Lord para gawin mo siya na totoo. Kasi parang hindi mo naman yan iisipin kung hindi yan pwedeng magkatotoo. Yun yung nasa isip ko. And another thing, di ba naniniwala ka sa sarili mo? At the same time, you should also learn to listen to the people who are giving you real feedback. Because there are things that we don't know yet, but we will know them because we are listening to other people's feedback. Kaya thank you so much to all those who are helping me. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for putting an extra effort for me to grow the podcast and all. Also, just like other people, there are times na I am losing that oomph or that giggle. Sa una kasi kapag sinabi mo na meron kang goal, parang napaka-excited mo eh. Parang nandun lahat ng mga gusto mong gawin. Pero pag nandun na sa mga little details, yung mga medyo challenging, parang unti-unti nawawala yung gigil mo or yung gana mo. Hindi lang to sa podcast ha. I mean, even with my other goals in life, dumarating yung point na parang nakakatamad na, parang may time pa ba ako dito or kailangan ko pa bang gawin to? There are questions like that. But when you are experiencing that exact moment that you're losing that giggle with your goal, you have to go back to your why. Ask yourself, bakit mo inumpisahan to? What made you interested in doing it? And if you will remember your reason why you started doing what you are doing right now, it will help you gain that energy, that push to do it again. The reason why I am here doing episodes again, it's because I am making myself happy by letting her experience the dream that she had for a long time but never experienced. It makes me me. Bakit ko yun pagkakait sa sarili ko? It feels like I'm having an audio journal through my podcast episodes that ano man ang mangyari, whatever happens, my stories are here. And I can always go back to these stories. And parang libro na pag binasa mo siya ulit, or parang pelikula na pag pinanood mo siya ulit sa ibang panahon or sa ibang parte ng buhay mo, you will realize something and it will remind you of something. And I'm doing it also for myself. Bukod sa mga yun, that extra push that led me to do it are those who listen to my stories. Kahit ayaw nilang magpakilala, kahit shy type sila, I do appreciate you for always listening to my stories. Alam nyo, every month, I am checking my podcast statistics and new listeners keep appearing. Even if I haven't released new episodes, dumadagdag siya. And I remember me saying when I started creating a podcast na habang may nakikinig, kahit isa lang siya, gagawa ako ng bago. So thank you. Hindi nyo alam kung gaano kalaking bagay yung makita na merong nakikinig sa'yo. Podcast ko lang to what more kung sa totoong buhay pa. Gaano kaya kalaki yung natutulong nyo kung nakikinig kayo sa ibang tao. So now that I'm doing this podcast episode, I finally got the answer to the question, what's next? So here's what's next for Sarah's Bedtime Stories. I'll be sharing more stories with you, stories that hopefully will help you more in dealing with your 20s. And I want to get closer to you as well. Yung makilala ko talaga, yung mga silent listeners na hindi pa nagsasabi kung sino sila. I mean, if you have questions or if you need advice, you can send them to me and I will do my best to answer them. May it be about self-confidence, self-love, self-doubt. If you want also to share your genuine stories, you can do so by sending them to sarahsbedtimestories@gmail.com. Again, kung meron kayong mga kwento na gusto nyong i-share, we can feature them in our podcast. Just send them to my email at sarahsbedtimestories@gmail.com. If your story is chosen, maybe we can do an episode together. Or if you want to be anonymous, no worries. I got you. Pwedeng-pwede yan. Basta gusto ko lang na mas mapalapit ako sa mga listeners ko. Gusto ko lang na yung mga stories ko is lalong makaapekto sa mga nakikinig sa akin. So, for Sarah's Bedtime Stories Season 3, it would be Sarah's Bedtime Stories featuring your stories. Heart, heart. Yes, that's true. You might be my next podcast guest. So, share the most genuine story that you have in mind. And if you think that this might not be as bongga as you would imagine for Season 3, for me, this is it. The first step of figuring out what's next. My thoughts: when you need to decide on something and taking the next step, follow your heart, follow your gut, and just do what makes you feel alive. You might not get the result instantly, but do it anyway. Trust the process. Consistency. Eventually, you'll get there and reach your next what's next. I think life is a series of what's next. So, hey, this is Sarah and this is Sarah's Bedtime Stories, episode 29. Good night. Mwah. Thanks for listening to Sarah's Bedtime Stories. If you enjoyed my podcast, please like and follow me on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Sarah's Bedtime Stories. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at _Sarah's Bedtime Stories. Feel free to share your questions or stories with us at sarahsbedtimestories@gmail.com. And who knows, your story might become the next episode.